This is Dennis Donahue, and I am a candidate for the Salinas Mayor's office this November. And I'm joined this morning by a fellow candidate, Margaret D'Arrigo, who's also not old chronologically, but an old friend of mine as well. And Margaret, you're running for District Three's council seat.
I am. Thanks for having me, Dennis. I'm really excited to be here and excited to run for this seat. It's a great opportunity. It's been a lot of fun and a lot of work, as you know. But so far, I'm feeling really good about my campaign and just enjoying getting out and meeting people. It's been a blast.
Well, I'm certainly trying to keep up with as many signs as you have in District 3. And, it was interesting. These campaigns, they are lengthy. And as we have our conversation this morning, we both have our jackets on, so to speak, and we were both talking a little bit about walking yesterday.
Yep.
And as of today, it appears the game changes. We're going to have to wear a coat. It's a little cooler, and
Exactly.
but we'll both still be out there knocking.
Definitely.
So, well, let's start with this. Tell folks a little bit about your background. We're both District 3 kids in terms
Yep.
of our background and how we grew up. So why don't you start there?
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning when I was walking over here. So I grew up in South Salinas by Mission Park, and I'd say Mission Park, Salinas High, Washington Middle School at the time, and Hartnell College. So kind of right in the center there, and it was fun growing up in town. I was able to walk to all my schools. My mother made us walk, rain or shine, and that was kind of unique. And I was thinking on the way in, I never felt unsafe in the city. We walked and we played in the yard, and it was a different time back then. But I'm hoping we can kind of get back to that again because I miss those days where kids played in the street in front of their houses, and it was just a good time to grow up here.
Well, one of the, and I appreciate that comment. One of the things I heard you say just in various events we've participated in, a safe community, and I think that's an important concept. And safety extends to obviously, there's public safety, but just a safe community in terms of the quality of life issues, like it's safe if you don't trip over a sidewalk. And,
Exactly, yeah.
Those sorts of things. Talk a little bit about how you kind of look at that word safe.
Well, I think it's a broad term, and like you said, does cover a lot. It covers sidewalks and streets, making sure people are using crosswalks, and I feel like everybody deserves to have a safe neighborhood where they can work and play, and families can go out in the evenings, even at dark, and walk their dogs or throw the ball with the kids and stuff. And so I want to have that kind of community back again, and I think we do have that in certain areas. And we're working on getting more open space, and I think that's important. Kids need to get outside more, and I think we as adults do too, right?
Right,
Walking
right.
and just living healthier lifestyles.
Well, our conversation can go a lot of different ways, but since you've already kind of teed this up, I know one of the things, having served as the mayor before, this is a city much more of neighborhoods than I think people realize. Talk a little bit about the neighborhoods in District 3.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun because I grew up in the Mission Park area. Now I live in Maple Park. I have friends in Monterey Park. You have University Park. Then you've got the schools kind of sprinkled in between. So there are these little communities that are really, really special, and they all kind of have their own flavor.
Right.
And I've been out walking all of them and meeting the residents, and everybody really protects those around them, and it feels really good. It feels like even though we're a very big city, we're not a little agricultural rural community
Right,
anymore.
right.
We're a big city, but I think that small city feel is happening in all these different areas, and it's really it's been really fun kind of getting out and getting a feel for each one of them because they're very different.
Yeah, they are, and I grew up right across from Hartnell College, and so my park was Central Park.
Okay, yes.
And and I go back to the days of Tiny Tots.
Yep.
And you'd go there every summer day, and Miss Ward would bring out the caroms for us to all play. Because my dad was the recreation park director, and I still remember the day the train arrived.
Oh, yes.
And
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal, and how all the kids, we'd all play on that. These days, I think. I miss the train, though. Being a grandparent or even remembering my own kids, some of the stuff we used to do, you're kind of like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd want them climbing on the top of the
Exactly.
train, but that was really,
It was special, yeah.
yeah, it really was, yeah.
And that park is still really heavily utilized.
Oh,
I
it
mean, I
still
go by
is,
there all
yeah,
the time because
yeah.
I'm, trustee at Hartnell and always looking over to see what's going on. There's always barbecues and families out there and small little events and birthday parties. So that park is really special because it kind of is in the center of Salinas.
Right.
It's really heavily utilized.
Yeah. No. Well, and you mentioned Hartnell, so let's talk a little bit about your
Yes.
background. Obviously you have a terrific business background and then community involvement, and that spirit of giving that really I think marks your life. I mean that started even in your business career.
Exactly.
With the breast cancer awareness at D'Arrigo, and so talk a little bit about your background and just like I say, everybody knows you for all the different things you do for the community, with the community. So talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
well, it started out when I was really young. My mother was very involved in the community. She was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was out in the fields every day, 7 days a week. So she was raising all six of us, and she was very active in schools. And Steinbeck House was probably one of her special projects. She loved it there. So, of course, I became a junior server early on. So I was serving at the restaurant. I was a candy striper at the hospital. Ironically, they're all in the same area, right? We didn't go far from home. But those were special times. And so I've always kind of had an affinity to Hartnell. We used to go to the Western Stage performance.
Right.
We had season tickets every year. My dad and I would walk there in the evenings and play tennis. So Hartnell was always kind of special. But boy, has it changed. It's such a beautiful campus.
It sure
It
is.
doesn't feel like a little community college anymore. I mean, it feels like a university to me. So I started volunteering there on the foundation board side. Gosh, I think it's been over 20 years. And did lots of things. Ag Steering Committee. If you can remember back when agriculture went away at Hartnell.
I do.
When I joined the board, we brought it back and we rebuilt it, and it's very, very strong. So I'm really proud of that. But and the people that came together from the industry and partnered with Hartnell to say, this is what's relevant. This is the type of skill set we need from your graduates. And it was a beautiful relationship they built, and it's still really, really strong. So that was kind of attracted me to going and moving away from the foundation and actually becoming a trustee, where I could be more of a decision maker on the college side. Because I really feel like the college and the foundation need to be completely synergized and work cohesively, and they really are. So I've enjoyed my time there so much. I love the students. It's fun. But the ag program is just a gem that I'm really proud that we were able to create.
Well, we should talk a little bit about that. And just as a quick sidebar, do you know that I actually served on the Sacred Heart Finance Committee with your mom?
So I'm not surprised.
So I even have history with your mom.
Yeah.
And but talk a little bit about Hartnell. It's I used to tell Will Llewellyn. I said, because as you know, the college went through some
Yes,
difficult
transition.
times, and I said, Will, congratulations. You have made the Panther cool again.
Exactly.
Because I remember as a kid growing up that Panther. And,
Oh, yeah.
and Hartnell really had some days of glory in terms of sports, and I'm amongst the many people. Even though I went away to University of San Francisco, you didn't get that one class right, and it's like, okay,
You always have Hartnell. Yes, exactly.
and they filled the bill and did
Yeah.
a great job. But the ag program is particularly interesting because I know you and I both share a real strong interest in economic development, and
Definitely.
and obviously, people hear that phrase a lot, but at the end of the day, what we're looking for are more jobs, more opportunities for our students. Because the thing I'm always struck by Hartnell and CSUMB as well, the amount of young people in our community, and what's most important to them is, can they find opportunities here?
That's right.
They really have a strong attachment to Salinas, and I think one of the things, if we're both successful in terms of economic development, to me that's job number one. I want to keep families together.
Definitely.
I've heard one too many times, my son or daughter or grandkids moved away because they didn't feel they had opportunities, and I want to change that.
Yeah, and they're not coming back because of that. So that was one of the things that attracted me to Hartnell on the board level. Was I kept seeing all these brilliant bilingual men and women in our community that were not going to college, and so I kept saying, we've got to market Hartnell differently. We've got to get them in here, because once they get an education and they find out kind of where their passion is and what they want to do, they're more likely to stay here. This is where their support system is, their
Right.
family, their aunts and uncles, their classmates. And so to me, it was really important to make sure we seal those cracks and don't let them leak through the system, and get them into the college setting. And once they're here, they stay. And then, again, they want to have a job at the end. It's not like I don't want to go for 2 years and then I want to, I want to go to work is the main thing.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate thing, is either a career or a job. And so I think we've done that successfully by
I
partnering
think-
with industry.
Yeah, no, I think you have, and the reality is Hartnell's success in that area, it's really a national story
Yeah.
in terms of the job Hartnell has done in terms of being an ag tech leader, in terms of education, and there's really a couple of different moving parts. One of them, as you know, is students can come to Hartnell, and if they want to keep going to a 4-year school, they can do that.
Yes.
But the other thing that's really critical is Hartnell is a big part of workforce development and upskilling current workforce
Absolutely.
because higher paying jobs can also take place in the field on the operational side, and you know that from your D'Arrigo days. Agriculture is a much more robust career opportunity than I think folks often realize, and better paying jobs, higher wages, better working conditions per se can take place on the operational side, and Hartnell prepares folks for that and works with companies to upskill workers.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I think, like I mentioned, the partnership between ag and industry, and Hartnell has been critical. Both came together and said, what do you need in terms of a workforce? What sort of classes should we be offering? And they built the curriculum based on that. Same thing with the allied health and nursing.
Right.
So, beautiful relationship between the hospitals here, SVH, Natividad, and CHOMP, and Hartnell. So it's just worked out beautifully. And they are a national model for sure. I mean, you don't see a lot of community colleges doing what we're doing, like the CSN3 program, and getting, a bachelor's degree at Hartnell is the next step. So that was never happening years ago. So we have a very progressive president, and Dr. Llewellyn paved the way, absolutely. And Mr. Gutierrez is doing a fantastic job of really being visionary and pushing the.
Well, Hartnell is really, based on that, Hartnell is really an intersection of all of the things that are really important for a community, and you're right. And I used to tell people when I was the mayor, hey, we are the perfect rural urban petri dish.
Yeah,
in terms
you're absolutely right.
And what's interesting is when you look throughout the state. That there is a nexus between a healthy agricultural environment, but that also goes hand. Typically, that creates a business foundation where you've got a tax base, and then healthcare and education can also be present. And when you bring that all together, that's pretty terrific. So so another part of your background is you were also a hospital board. So You've kind of seen it all.
I've definitely grown up. That was an opportunity where someone knocked on the door and said, I was going to run for a school board seat. And they said, we really need you at the hospital. Huge budget. So you need people that can understand finance, that have passion for the community. Of course, the hospital was built, on agriculture. So it was a perfect fit for me. And I loved the 4 years that I spent there. I really got to know the nurses really well. And we had some difficult negotiations during that time. So I got involved in some of those as well, and built really strong relationships. I'm still really close to a lot of the nurses there and the docs and everything, and the administration, although they've undergone some change. And just recently got endorsed by CNA, and that was really special for me.
Yeah, no, I bet it is. So, hospital, Hartnell, the nonprofit world, now the city.
I know. This is a big step up for me. But I've been thinking about it for a while, kind of like, what's my next step and where do I want to go? And I kind of go where my heart is, but also where the need is. And I felt like the city needed someone like me to step up in a leadership role. Timing was perfect. So I thought, you know what? When Steve said, I'm resigning, I need a break, it was like, okay, Margaret, let's test the waters. And the first thing I did was go out and just talk to people and say, I'm thinking about this, and what do you think? And the response was like enormously, overwhelmingly supportive. I thought people would say, you're nuts, what are you doing?
Right.
Why would you do this at this point in your life?
Right.
But even my dad said, that's good, I'd go for it, So because the response was so favorable, I just said, I'm going to keep going unless there's a roadblock, and there just weren't any. So.
Well, you've been knocking a lot of doors, and
Yes.
you've been out there among them.
Yes.
What have you? And I know you had some thoughts before you got started, but what have you learned? What are District 3 constituents telling you? What are the big issues?
Well, I didn't realize how passionate they were about their district.
Right.
And, it's a big district. It's a high voting district. And they pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
So that was something that kind of enlightened me. I thought, wow, they're really taking it seriously. I knew Steve McShane was extremely engaged and very receptive to every phone call, every email, and those are big shoes to fill. But they have a special passion. Like they really love the city, and not just their district, but the entire city
Right.
and beyond. And they're caring people, but they study the issues and they're not afraid to speak up. So I'm sure I'm going to be getting lots of phone calls. I already am.
I'm
And
sure you will.
that's the importance of doing the walking door to door is giving them your phone number and saying,
Right.
contact me.
Right.
And they do. They call me for a sign. They call me with a problem. I've had a little 80-year-old woman call me the other day. She was sweet as can be, been here forever, just wanted a sign, but she couldn't get to the door fast enough to ask me. So she called me. She said, I can't believe you answered my call. And I'm like, of course. And we had
Yeah.
the greatest conversation. So it's really heartwarming. Great people here.
Yeah, no, those types of exchanges really are. The thing I've learned, or when I reflect back on my time in office, is it's usually a combination of something really big.
Yeah.
I want opportunities for my kids. I want to feel safe, but fix my sidewalk.
That's right. Yep. There's a
and
whole spectrum.
Equal passion about both, and understandable.
Yeah.
And moving around the city right now, there are a number of serious issues, of course, that affect the whole city and people have thoughts about. But it's very much a quality of life election also, in terms of sidewalks, streets, potholes, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. If you're in District 3, it's always a very bumpy ride to the Y for me. Every
Absolutely,
day,
yep.
if you scoot out behind Star Market and head up La Mesa, very bumpy ride.
Yep.
And so it certainly is a pothole election also.
Yes, it is.
What-
I hear that constantly. And,
Yeah.
and don't just patch it. Let's fix it permanently.
Exactly.
Because we know that's an expensive way
Yeah.
to attack a problem.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, people love their neighborhoods. They take pride in where they live, and so we need to give them the infrastructure that supports that. But
So has anything surprised you in this process?
surprises. I think I get surprised every day, but I'm learning a lot about how the government works, and what surprised me is there's actually a lot more good going on than I think people realize.
Right.
A lot of things happening behind the scenes, and as I have these conversations with either government officials or business folks or residents, business owners, they're telling me, well, yeah, this is a problem, but look at all this great stuff that's happening.
Right,
Look at our
right.
vibrant downtown, and so I think there's a lot more positive that we should celebrate.
Right.
And yes, we have to focus on these other areas, they're more long-term problems.
Right.
People even said, a lot of people haven't been talking about homelessness lately, which is
Right.
really unusual
Right.
in this election, because I thought that would be top of mind, but it's really more about public safety and infrastructure. And then, like you and I, we love economic development, so
Right,
that's important
right.
too.
Well, and the reason I think that's important is, and neither you nor I would be one-trick ponies, so to speak. But the economic development thing is important, because one of the things I'm concerned about is kind of the economic trajectory of the city.
Sure.
How do we protect and expand,
Yes.
not raise taxes, expand our tax base, because that gives you the ability to solve problems.
Right,
And
resources.
and I think the city needs to contribute. What the city's not the marketplace, but leadership from City Hall, cooperation, connecting from City Hall can certainly
sure.
help the cause. And I think that's really important, because that gives you the tools to address the public safety issues. And you're right, the infrastructure thing is much more challenging financially than I think folks really understand. And I think one of the things that's going to be really important is some really serious public engagement about, look, here's the real deal. And
Yeah.
and yes, we're glad some things are getting fixed and that sort of thing, but we're going to really have to create some, in my view, civic, community and political will around a long-term strategic plan that people understand and buy into.
I agree.
But there has to be some short-term progress and clear engagement.
And I think, a better job of communicating
Right.
outward instead of inward.
Right.
It's something that I know the current city manager is really interested in that. We've talked quite a bit about that, the two of us. And we can do a better job communicating. Amazon's a perfect example of that. People still don't know if it's happening.
Right.
Until recently, I saw the recent article that, yes, it's happening. But,
Right.
So that didn't get communicated really well. And that was just an oversight, I think. So people want to know what's going on. That Salinas Connect app is fantastic. I just got turned on to that. I love that. And if people use it, it really does tell you a lot about what's going on.
Right.
And it's something that the city created for the residents. And so let's take advantage of that. I was trying to think of different little surprises. One of them that I thought about after we left that subject was that people don't know who their council person is. And that's citywide. I'll ask people,
Right.
Are you in District 3? No, I'm in District 5. Do you know who your council member is? No. And this is across the board. I'm not picking on District 5 by
Right.
any means. But people are just kind of disengaged in some
Right,
areas.
yeah.
And we need to change that. They need
Yeah.
to know who represents them and be proud of it and have their phone number and be able to contact them and get
Right.
answers. And so
Well, and
that
I
was
can tell you that
interesting.
phenomena goes back to to the turn of the century. I mean, I used to look at the polling data, and you're right. Very few council members ever exceed the threshold of
Yes.
30 or 35% of their district residents know who their council member is. So that's been going on for a while, and I think you're right. There really does need to be a serious effort to change that and more engagement, because that's certainly the thing I've been struck by. I think the level of interest has changed in terms of it's perhaps even more intense. And one of the things I was always a big fan of, hey, the commission structure is really a great place to participate in the city.
Very true.
Because those are publicly noticed meetings. Commissioners can ask questions, provide direction, not necessarily in the same way, but city staff is very receptive to what they hear from commission members. They're televised, so
Yeah,
so
that's a good opportunity. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there are ways to participate in the process as well. For the thing I like about local government is thoughtful, interested people usually can find
That's
a
true.
way to
Yeah.
participate, and so the commission
Yeah.
structure I think is a good place to start.
It is, and I think we just need to make it easier for people.
Yeah,
The less effort they have to put into it, the better. And like I said, be transparent, make it available, and people they'll definitely use the information because they do want to know. A lot of them don't know what city council people do. I've asked people, people ask me, what are you going to do when you get in there? We're like, what's your job? And they have no idea how important the decisions that we make are such high level decisions that affect not just the city people live in its limits, but beyond, really almost regionally. So it's a big job. I'm not taking it lightly.
Yeah, no, I know you're not. Well, we'll close a little bit now. I want to close with congratulating you on a particular endorsement. I know you were endorsed by the
Yes.
Salinas Police Officers Association. I had the opportunity. I received that endorsement as well, and certainly very pleased about it. I know you have a nice list across the board of endorsements, but talk a little bit about. We do know public safety, and it remains front and center in folks' minds. So talk a little bit about why that was kind of an important.
Well, it's important to me
endorsement.
because it's my number one priority is to get the funding back and give the departments, police, fire, EMTs, sheriffs, the resources that they need, the tools, so they can recruit and retain good employees. So we all feel safer, and we are safer. So that was a big one for me. I met with our interim chief, Murray, and I was so impressed with him. He has a vision and a plan for the city.
Yeah.
So we need to support that. He's right on target. And I think if we follow his lead, we'll get to where we need to be. Safety it's number one. And I think everybody deserves to feel safe. Kids deserve to be able to walk in their neighborhood and, play with their dogs and whatever. So that one was very special to me for sure.
No, that sounds good. Well, listen, as we close, I always like to ask folks, did I miss anything? And I want to give you the final word. Anything you'd like to say as we close this
Well, I
conversation?
think what makes me unique is my focus on women's empowerment. That's something that I created in Empower, which is an organization that empowers and inspires women and prepares them and organizes them to re-engage in the community. So we're going on, I think, our 18th, 19th year, and growing and reaching down to younger women as well. So young girls, women of all ages, of all types of occupations. And that's probably one of the most rewarding things I've done. and those women are filtering into the community and doing amazing things. So I'm very proud of that, and that will always be my little special thing that I've done for the
Well,
city.
I'll just close by thanking you for your time and picking up on what you said. And certainly one of the things I would share with the community and your prospective voters, you are somebody who makes something happen. You don't need an invitation, though I know you will be. You're good at customer service. Those of us who were in the produce industry,
We're always in sales.
that's right, and we know how to respond to requests, whether they're mild mannered, ill tempered, or
Yep.
we know who the real boss is, the customer. But I've always admired how proactive you are, even recently picking up your master's degree. You do not let any grass grow under your
That's
feet.
right. I'm constantly learning. Education's important.
Well, we appreciate your spending some time with us this morning, and
My pleasure.
yeah, no, and like I say, I'm doing everything I can to keep up with you in District 3 with all those signs because you're everywhere.
You're doing a great job. As you notice, we paired up in a lot of neighborhoods.
Well,
So it's been great.
I have noticed that, but I'm like I say, when you got to do the whole city rather than but I'm trying to keep up with you, and
Well, you're doing a great job.
You're setting a great example. So thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great to see you.
You too.